Efua is the prettiest lady in the kingdom. Efua has earned a notorious reputation in Anglor Kingdom as a black widow, marrying wealthy men and then witnessing them die shortly after the marriage. This was an unforeseen consequence of her parents' long desire to have a child. They went to see a deity to help them get a child. The deity made them understand that it is not possible for them to give birth since Efua's mother was naturally barren. But the chief priest added that, in case they insist, he could do a ritual for them, but it comes with a great cost. Initially, they did not want to have anything to do with consequences of a deity or shrine. But societal mockery of their childlessness, and parents' and families' constant pressure made them go back to the chief priest years later to take whatever deal it is that comes with having a deity child. Before the rituals, the chief priest consults the gods for the payment that comes with it. He later tells them that they can have a child, but the child will be married to the gods. She cannot marry any man on earth since she is already married to the deity. Any man who falls in love with her and marries her will have to die. And also, they will need to sacrifice one cow. That is all the gods require of them. The couple looked at each other in disbelief. They were expecting the consequence to be something hugely terrible or bloody, or perhaps a terrible sickness. What a small price to pay, they said to themselves. At the time, the severity of this demand by the gods seemed petty to them. Considering the shame they were facing in the village, they quickly buy a cow the next day for the ritual, and few months later, Efua's mothers became pregnant with Efua. Efua's beauty blossomed early, like a hibiscus flower under the relentless African sun. Even as a child, her eyes held a sparkle that captivated everyone around her. Her smile could light up a room, and her laughter was like the tinkling of wind chimes. Boys her age were obsessed, vying for her attention with shy glances and nervous smiles. Tragedy struck when Efua's father died when she was still very young. Her mother, now the sole provider, struggled to make ends meet with her menial job. Despite their financial hardships, Efua's beauty remained undimmed, becoming even more radiant as she grew older. As Efua entered her teenage years, her beauty continued to attract attention. Among her admirers was Ose, a wealthy young businessman who had recently moved to Anglor Kingdom. Ose was captivated by Efua's beauty from the moment he first saw her. He was handsome, charming, and kind-hearted, qualities that made him a perfect suitor in the eyes of many. Despite her young age, Efua found herself drawn to Ose. He treated her with respect and kindness, unlike the older men who had shown interest in her before. Ose's affection was genuine, and his visits to her home became more frequent. He brought gifts, not just for Efua, but for her mother as well, quickly winning her over with his generosity and charm. One evening, Ose came to Efua's home with a serious expression on his face. He took her hands in his and asked for her hand in marriage. Efua, though only 16, felt a deep connection with him and readily agreed. Her mother, seeing an opportunity to escape their financial struggles and believing it wouldn't be bad for Efua to marry early, also gave her blessing. The wedding was a grand affair. The entire village gathered to witness the union of the most beautiful girl in the kingdom and a wealthy young man. For a brief moment, it seemed as though Efua's life would change for the better. She and Ose were deeply in love, and their happiness was evident to all who saw them together. However, the joy was short-lived. Just a few months into their marriage, Ose fell mysteriously ill. His condition deteriorated rapidly, baffling the doctors and healers who attended to him. Efua was devastated, watching helplessly as the love of her life slipped away. Despite all efforts to save him, Ose passed away, leaving Efua heartbroken and alone. Efua's mother, racked with guilt and fear, remembered the deal they had made with the gods before Efua's birth. She recalled the words of the chief priest. The child will be married to the gods. Any man who falls in love with her and marries her will have to die. The realization hit her like a thunderbolt. The death of Efua's husband was no coincidence. She knew she had to tell Efua the truth. But the thought of breaking her daughter's heart even further was unbearable. How could she tell Efua that her dreams of love and a happy marriage were doomed from the start? How could she explain that the very act of loving her could bring death to those she cared about? Her mom waited few weeks for the hurt and emotional pain to die down. One evening, as Efua sat by the window, lost in her sorrow, her mother approached her with a heavy heart. She sat beside Efua and gently took her hand. "Efua, my dear," she began, her voice trembling, "there is something I must tell you. Something I should have told you long ago." Efua looked at her mother, her tear-streaked face full of confusion and pain. "What is it, mother?" she asked softly. Her mother took a deep breath and began to recount the story of their visit to the chief priest, the ritual they had performed, and the curse that had been placed upon her. She explained how Efua had been married to the gods before she was even born, and that any man who married her would die as a result. Efua listened in surprised silence, her mind struggling to grasp the heaviness of what her mother was saying. When her mother finished, there was a long, heavy silence. Finally, Efua spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "So, it's my fault that Ose died?" Her mother shook her head vehemently. "No, my child, it is not your fault. It is the curse. We did not fully understand the consequences when we made that deal. We were desperate, and we did not think about your future." Tears streamed down Efua's face as she absorbed the painful truth. The love she had felt for Ose, the hope of a future together, had all been cruelly taken away by a curse she had no control over. Efua asked her mom to take her to the fetish priest for a potential reversal of the curse if possible. But that fetish priest has been long dead. For a time, she accepted her fate, believing that she was destined to live a life of loneliness to spare others from the curse. However, Efua's beauty remained as captivating as ever, drawing the attention of suitors despite the rumors of the curse. One day, a handsome and confident young man named Kwabena arrived in the village. Kwabena was captivated by Efua's beauty from the moment he saw her. Unlike others who had heard the rumors and stayed away, Kwabena was undeterred. He was determined to win Efua's heart. One evening, as they walked by the river, she tried to discourage him. "Kwabena, there is something you should know," she began hesitantly. "There is a curse on me. Any man who marries me is doomed to die. I don't want to bring any harm to you." Kwabena smiled reassuringly. "Efua, I have heard about the curse, but I do not believe in it. My family's gods are powerful and protective. They will not allow any tragedy to befall me. I am willing to take the risk because I love you." Efua was touched by Kwabena's confidence and determination, but deep down, she was filled with dread. She did not want to lose another person she cared about. Despite her reservations, Kwabena's persistence wore down her resistance, and she began to hope that maybe, just maybe, the gods of Kwabena's family and village were very powerful. When Kwabena made his intentions known to Efua's mother, she quickly tried to dissuade him. "Kwabena, you must understand the risk you are taking. Efua is cursed, and any man who marries her will die. Please reconsider." But Kwabena was steadfast. "I have faith in my family's gods, mommy. They will protect me. I love Efua and I'm willing to take any risk for her. My family and village gods are surely with me and will not allow any evil to befall me." Efua's mother, seeing Kwabena's resolve, reluctantly gave her blessing, though her heart was heavy with fear. But she believed maybe the gods of Kwame might be powerful to stop the curse from killing him. The wedding was a bittersweet occasion, filled with joy and apprehension. For a time, it seemed as though Kwabena's confidence was justified. He and Efua were happy together, and Efua dared to hope that the curse had been broken or that Kwabena's gods were indeed protecting him. However, the curse soon reasserted itself. Kwabena fell mysteriously ill, just like Ose had. Despite all efforts to save him, he too succumbed to the curse and died. Efua was left devastated, her brief flicker of hope extinguished. The villagers, witnessing yet another tragic end, grew more fearful of Efua. Her mother, racked with guilt and seeing her daughter in such misery, grew bitter and consumed with regret. She blamed herself for bringing such calamity upon her beautiful daughter. The emotional pain was too much for her to bear, and she soon fell ill. Her health deteriorated rapidly, and she died, leaving Efua completely alone. Efua was heavily devastated. The loss of her mother, compounded with the deaths of her two husbands, plunged her into a deep depression. She felt cursed not just by the gods, but by fate itself. The once vibrant and hopeful young woman was now a shadow of her former self, haunted by the belief that she was destined to bring death to anyone she loved. After the death of her second husband and her mother, Efua found herself isolated in the village. The curse that plagued her had made her an outsider. Her late husband's family made sure she got no gains or properties. They claimed she killed their son. Efua had absolutely nothing. Despite her unparalleled beauty, no one wanted to employ her or even associate with her for fear of the curse. People distanced themselves, and whispers about her grew louder and more sinister. New rumors and curses were concocted, painting Efua as a dangerous and malevolent presence in the village. Efua's life became a struggle for survival. With no means of support and disliked by the villagers, she fell into poverty. Some men began to take advantage of her vulnerable state, exploiting her for little money, knowing she was unlikely to find a better life. They defiled her, seeing her as a woman with no future prospects for marriage. The abuse left Efua deeply scarred and filled with a growing hatred for her plight. By the age of 19, Efua was fairly poor and deeply traumatized. She despised the abuse and the exploitation she endured daily. One evening, as she sat by the river where she used to dream of a better life, she made a decision. She would leave the village behind and seek a fresh start elsewhere. But this time, she had a plan to use the curse to her advantage. Efua realized that the very curse that had brought her so much sorrow could become a tool for her survival. She would target wealthy men, use her beauty to lure them, marry them, and when they inevitably succumbed to the curse, she would inherit their property. Then, she would move on to another village and repeat the process. It was a dark and despairing plan, but Efua saw it as her only way to escape poverty and abuse. With a new resolve, Efua left her village and traveled to a neighboring town where she was unknown. The town was bustling with wealthy traders and influential men. Efua, with her striking beauty, quickly caught the attention of one such man, a wealthy merchant named Nana Kofi. Nana Kofi was immediately taken by Efua's beauty and charm. He courted her with lavish gifts and promises of a luxurious life. Efua, playing the role of the innocent and loving young woman, reciprocated his advances, all the while concealing her true intentions. It didn't take long for Nana Kofi to propose marriage. She accepted Nana Kofi's proposal, and they were married in a grand ceremony. The townspeople marveled at the beautiful new bride of the wealthy merchant. For a time, Efua enjoyed the comforts and luxuries of her new life. She was treated like a queen, and Nana Kofi loved her endlessly. However, she knew this happiness was temporary. The curse would soon take its toll. Just as she had predicted, Nana Kofi fell mysteriously ill within a few months of their marriage. Despite the best efforts of doctors and healers, his condition worsened rapidly. Efua played the role of the devoted wife, caring for him and appearing heartbroken. When Nana Kofi eventually died, the townspeople mourned his passing, but Efua's performance as a grieving widow convinced them of her innocence. As Nana Kofi's widow, Efua inherited his wealth and properties. She sold off what she could and quietly left the town, moving on to another village where she was unknown. In her new village, Efua repeated the pattern. She targeted another wealthy man, played the role of a loving and devoted woman, and married him. Inevitably, the curse claimed his life, and Efua inherited his wealth. She moved from village to village, each time leaving a trail of wealthy but mysteriously deceased husbands in her wake. Each time, she played her role perfectly, ensuring that suspicion never fell upon her. At age 30, Efua had accumulated vast wealth. She was tired of the curse game and had enough resources to live a carefree life for a very long time. Yet, a new challenge emerged, one that promised untold riches. The Ashanti Kingdom, known as the Land of Gold, was ruled by King Akinoba, a man so wealthy it defied description. Whispers reached Efua of the king's burden, a curse that brought misfortune to his wives, causing them to suffer terrible fates. For Efua, this seemed like a twisted challenge with the ultimate reward: a heavy inheritance that would set her for life. Determined to secure her final deal, Efua traveled to the Ashanti Kingdom. Her plan was to marry King Akinoba, survive his curse, and inherit his immense wealth. She knows very well that the curse will not work on her, because she is a wife of a god, and that God will not let anything bad happen to her. This would be her last scam. She wouldn't have to marry or deceive any man again. Upon arriving, she was struck by the beauty and opulence of the kingdom, but even more so by King Akinoba himself. He was not the oppressor she had imagined, but a generous, sweet, loving, and kind-hearted man. King Akinoba welcomed Efua warmly. He was immediately captivated by her beauty and grace. Efua, always the master of disguise, played her role perfectly, appearing as a woman of self-confidence and charm. However, as she spent more time with King Akinoba, her initial plans began to waver. Efua's determination was tested as she grew closer to King Akinoba. He treated her with a level of respect and affection she had never experienced before. The more time she spent with him, the more she realized she didn't want to see him suffer or die. One evening, Akinoba shared the story of his family's curse. It has been said that every woman who marries him will suffer a terrible fate. My ancestors wronged the gods, and now I bear the curse, he said in a low tone. I have lived in loneliness and guilt, watching my beloved wife disappear into thin air because of my heritage. Efua's heart ached for Akinoba. She understood his pain and loneliness better than anyone. She began to question whether she could go through with her plan. The thought of causing harm to this kind man, who had already suffered so much, filled her with dread. As Efua sits by a river thinking of how to not hurt the king with her curse, she encountered an old woman seer in the village. The villagers banished her for being a wicked witch, although she claimed she is not. Now she lives alone in the forest. The seer, with her piercing eyes and ancient wisdom, called Efua over. Child, I see a curse upon your life, the old woman said. Marrying the king will bring his death. Efua, tormented by her secret, broke down in tears. I know about the curse, she admitted. It has haunted me all my life. I never wanted to hurt anyone, but now I find myself truly wishing to be married to this kind king. I don't know what to do. The seer placed a comforting hand on Efua's shoulder. There is more you need to know, she said gently. The king believes he is cursed, but he is not. His beloved wife, whom he cherished with all his heart, vanished from the palace and the village one day. It was rumored that a curse placed on the king would cause every woman he marries to face tragedy, but those are lies. His distant brothers, who desire his throne, have been plotting to break him down, spreading these falsehoods and even kidnapping his wife to undermine his rule. The king has not been himself since the incident, and he is very careful about whom he marries next, fearing the curse impact. But he desperately needs a son to establish his kingship in the kingdom. He needs an heir to secure his throne. Efua listened, her heart heavy with the weight of this new information. She thanked the old woman and walked away, her mind racing. She had come to the Ashanti Kingdom with a plan to secure her last fortune scam. But now she faced a choice that could change everything. That evening, Efua requested a private audience with King Akinoba. As they sat in his chamber, Efua struggled to find the right words. Your Majesty, she began, there is something you need to know. I did not come to your kingdom by chance. I have a curse upon me that has caused the death of every man I have married. I came here initially to marry you and inherit your wealth, but I have rather come to care for you deeply. I cannot let you die because of me." The king's face hardened with shock and betrayal. "You intended to make me die," he said, his voice filled with anger. "You deceived me." Efua bowed her head in shame. "Yes, but I have news for you. Just don't ask me how I got to know. Your wife was kidnapped by your brothers who seek to dethrone you. They have spread lies and manipulated events to make you believe in this curse." Akanoba's eyes widened with a mix of fury and realization. "If this is true, then I must act. But your betrayal cannot go unpunished. Guards, arrest her and lock her up." Efua went willingly, feeling that she deserved this fate. As the guards led her away, she prayed that the king would find his wife and uncover the truth. King Akanoba wasted no time. He sent messengers and warriors to the village where his wife was rumored to be held captive. Meanwhile, he fortified the kingdom, placing more armored men on guard to prevent an attack from his treacherous brothers. Days turned into weeks, and the tension in the kingdom was intense. Finally, the messengers returned with joyous news: the queen had been rescued. Akanoba had not experienced such joy in a long time. The kingdom celebrated as the queen was reunited with her beloved husband. Days later, the grateful queen, her eyes shining with relief, asked Akanoba how he had found out about her kidnapping. He recounted the entire story, including Efua's confession and her role in revealing the queen's whereabouts. The queen listened, her gratitude deepening. She said to the king, "Despite her initial intentions, Efua saved my life and reunited us," she said. "She had no reason to do that other than her love for you. She deserves to be set free." Akanoba pondered his wife's words, realizing the truth in them. Efua had risked everything out of genuine love. She could have decided not to, but she did. He ordered Efua's release, and she was brought before him and the queen. "Efua," Akanoba began, "you betrayed me, but you also saved my wife and restored my joy. For that, I am grateful. We will help you break your curse so that you can live a life free from fear and sorrow of true love." Together, they consulted the chief priests and deities of the land. The rituals were complex and required great sacrifices. No fetish priest would have ever considered helping Efua. But with the interference of the king of the land, they found a way to appease the gods to whom Efua was married. The final rituals were performed, and Efua's lifetime curse was finally broken. Freed from her curse, Efua was overwhelmed with relief and gratitude. The queen gifted her with a trove of gold, enough to ensure a lifetime of comfort and security. Efua thanked the king and queen for their kindness and decided to leave the Ashanti Kingdom for a fresh start. However, with her newfound wealth and a curse-free love life, Efua resolved not to rely on her beauty to attract men. She devised a new plan. She would disguise herself as a poor, unattractive woman and see which man would love her for who she truly is. Not for her looks or wealth. She set out into another village not as the prettiest lady seeking to make wealth of wealthy men, but as an ugly lady looking for true love. An exciting adventure lies ahead again this time around. Would she find love? Will she lose her riches? Can she hide her past secrets from people who already knew? An exciting adventure lies ahead again this time around. Let us know in the comment section if this story deserves a part 2. If you enjoyed this story, kindly give us a like and subscribe. This will put a big smile on our faces. Thank you for watching.